So you're thinking about buying a condo in Bellingham, Washington. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you the most important things that you must understand before doing so. And we're going to get started right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about all the content that we're releasing about Bellingham, about Whatcom County, and all the great things that are going on here in this area. My name is Jeff Engen. I'm with MJB Real Estate Group here in Bellingham, and every day we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you who are considering a move to this area, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking about moving tomorrow, 10 months from now, or sometime in between, I encourage you to reach out. All of our contact information can be found below, and we will be standing by and ready to help in any way that we can. But for now, let's talk about condos in Bellingham and the surrounding areas. All right, so first things first, we want to talk a little bit about your financing options on the purchase of a condo here in Bellingham and the surrounding areas. Cash, as always, as with any real estate transaction, cash is a very viable option for the purchase of real estate. Now, cash can help you to expedite things like closing timeframes. Cash can help you to perhaps create some more favorable terms in the purchase contract of your intended home or condo. But cash is oftentimes not readily available for a large percentage of the population on an expensive purchase like a home or a condominium. So for that reason, we of course turn then to financed options. So going to your local bank, working with a loan officer to secure a mortgage for the purchase of a condo. So first and foremost, there's some areas in the country where financing on condos is very difficult. I would say here in Washington State, financing of condos is relatively simple and straightforward, particularly if you are talking about employing a conventional loan. Now, conventional loan or conforming loan has particular standards, requirements, guidelines that have been established by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and you have to be able to fit into some particular boxes to be able to get approved, but it is a very straightforward means of purchasing a condo. A lot of times, first-time home buyers or veterans will want to employ something known as an FHA or VA type of a mortgage on the purchase of a condo. And while those do exist in terms of condos that are approved for those types of loans, you do need to know that not all condos carry an FHA or VA approval. So as you're out there in the market shopping for condos, considering your options, if you are looking at employing an FHA or VA type of loan, it's very important that you clear that hurdle early on. Make sure that you understand either A, yes, this condo is already approved for the type of loan that I would like to employ, or B, is it possible that it could be approved, and what would the associated steps be to make that happen? So financing as first and foremost, it's something that you want to understand for the purchase of this condo based on the type of loan that you intend to employ. So the next thing we want to talk a little bit about is the actual cost of ownership of a condominium. Now, with a single family home, you may or may not have a homeowners association, and you may or may not have homeowners association dues. But in the case of a condominium, you just about always will have homeowners association dues. Now, these dues are a monthly fee that are paid to the homeowners association, and what they cover can vary significantly from one association to another. So a homeowners association due can cover everything from your water, your electric, your sewer, your garbage, in some cases even like cable and internet to be included. Oftentimes, if not almost always, the exterior common areas of an association are covered. So that's going to be things like having your lawns mowed, having the driveway plowed in the wintertime if snow accumulates, versus other associations that do very, very little, do not include utilities, are effectively collecting dues for the sake of compiling funds and making those available in what's called a reserve. Now, we'll talk about that here in another section shortly, but it is important for you to understand upfront not only the cost of the condo that you're pursuing, but the cost of the monthly HOA and what it includes. Sometimes people will see that number and be scared off. It could be $350 per month that is the cost of these dues? Well, if that includes your water, sewer, garbage, and perhaps your electric, not only that, but all of your exterior maintenance on the home, that actually could balance out and be something that's in your favor, versus if that same association has $350 per month dues and none of your utilities are covered. That's a very different situation. So it's very important for you to know ahead of time, what is the cost of this condo and what is the cost of the monthly homeowners association dues. The next thing that we want to talk about dovetails really nicely with talking about homeowners association dues. Those are effectively the bylaws, or the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, otherwise known as CC and Rs, that apply to a particular association. Now, these bylaws can cover everything from, the number and the type of pets that you're allowed to have, the prospective size of those pets. They cover things like parking, they cover things like noise stipulations, access to common features like fitness facilities, clubhouses, things of that nature. And so it is really important for you to know, to read, to understand what are the bylaws that govern this particular condo that you're considering, and are these agreeable to you? Now, I would say more often than not, the bylaws are written in a way that they are meant to benefit everyone who's a part of the association, but sometimes you might find that some of these bylaws are in direct conflict with things that are important to you, particularly pets as a great example. And if you find that to be true, well then perhaps that particular condo is not the right spot for you. It is a provision in the contract that there is time for you to review the bylaws, the CC and Rs, the restrictions that are associated with the condominium. And so even after you've gone under contract, there's a period of time where you can evaluate that homeowners association and make sure that this is going to be a fit for you. So again, on this list of things that's really important for you to understand, these restrictions, bylaws, CC and Rs, whatever you'd like to call them, it's important that you understand what they are, how they work, and who they apply to. Another thing that's really important for us to talk about is something called a reserve or a reserve study. So we talked a little bit about HOA dues. Those are your monthly fees that are being paid into the association, sometimes covering things like utilities, sometimes not. But every single month, some portion of your HOA dues should be going into a reserves account. Now, in this circumstance of a condominium, all of the exterior maintenance, the siding, the roofing, the decks, the railing, the stairs, etc., are items that are meant to be maintained by the association as opposed to by you, the owner of the condo. So it's really important that in consideration of some of the more major expenses that can be associated with exterior updates, remodels, etc., of an association, that there are sufficient reserve funds set aside for these types of projects. If a sewer main goes out from a building to the city sewer, if a large tree falls on a roof, if the siding on a development begins to fail, are there sufficient funds available to cover the cost associated with these updates? If and when there are not sufficient funds associated with these updates, there is something called an assessment. Now, an assessment is an extra additional amount of money that can be assigned to everyone within an association to cover these larger projects that occasionally come up. So when you're evaluating a condo and considering it as a place to purchase, you want to know, what do the reserve accounts look like? What do the financials look like? Have there been recent reserve studies that not only look at the amount of money in the bank, but also evaluate the condition, the exterior condition of the building? Do you feel good about those things? Can we reasonably say that for the next 5 to 10 years, there should not be any major exterior projects? Or would a reserve study indicate that a roof is needing to be replaced in the next 2 years and reserve funds are likely inadequate to cover that expense? So reserves, assessments can get a little bit complicated. If you have questions on that, I encourage you to reach out, but those are things that you want to know when you're considering a particular condo and evaluating the financial strength and stability of that condo. Right, so one more important thing that we want to talk about with regards to condos is the rental cap. Now, a rental cap is simply the maximum number of units within an association that are allowed to be rented at any given time. Some associations have no cap on rentals, meaning that up to and including 100% of the units in an association could be rented as opposed to owner occupied. Other associations may have something, for example, like a 50% rental cap, meaning that if there's 100 units in an association, 50 of those would need to be owner occupied, and a maximum of 50 could be rentals. If you own a condo in a rent capped circumstance and you wish to rent your condo, but the cap has already been met, you effectively need to go on a waiting list and wait until one of the other units that is currently rented either sells or becomes owner occupied before you can legally rent your unit in your association. So one of the things that we like to consider, especially for first-time home buyers, especially for people who are looking at a condominium as prospectively a stepping stone in their real estate journey, that hey, we're going to buy this, we're going to live in this for 2 years, and then at that point in time we think we're going to be ready to get into a single-family home. Well, fantastic. Ideally, we would find you a condo that would put you in a good position to be able to rent that condo and create revenue off of this asset that you own, as opposed to having to sell that condo when purchasing your future home. So looking at the rental cap, taking into consideration if such a thing exists, is a very important piece of the puzzle if you would consider at any point in time renting your condo as opposed to living in it as an owner. Last but certainly not least, want to touch on insurance. So going back to those HOA dues, yes, that's an expense. What does it include? Well, again, as we've discussed, that varies significantly from one condo to another. But something that is important to understand is that the type of insurance that you carry on a condominium is more akin to renter's insurance. So whereas on a single family home, you would be required to carry a homeowner's insurance policy that would effectively cover the entirety of the home, the interior, the exterior, the lot. If a tree falls on your home, if flooding occurs, you have coverage, hopefully, that will provide for you in that sort of a circumstance. In the case of a condominium, you're carrying what's much more akin to a renter's insurance policy, which is effectively just to cover your personal possessions within the interior of your unit in your condominium. And so again, some of those funds that you're paying out to that HOA are including provisions for that exterior insurance for that property. Versus the lesser cost that's associated for you as a condo owner of just protecting the possessions that are inside of your home. As always, I hope this video has been helpful and informative. If you've gained any value from what I've shared here, again, I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you can keep up on all future videos that we release. One last time, all of our contact information can be found below. Encourage you to reach out anytime with anything that we can do to be of help. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I look forward to seeing you again soon.